opening up. Here we go. Woohoo! Ready to roll. Move this over. Love to hear the doorbell. Isn't that
Fixing my
awesome?
last slide. That is awesome.
Yes.
Fixing my last slide.
So yeah, when I hear that doorbell in the background, I go, oh yay, everybody wants to come. Everybody's at the door. I love it.
Woohoo!
Come on in, the door's open.
The door is open. It's an open house.
It is awesome. All right, so we're going to take a minute and let people just kind of join in, because I'm quite sure there's not an alarm on their phone going, oh, gotta go, right? So, hi Jill,
And
how are you?
nobody's in a meeting right now, or oh no, I gotta go. That's
Right.
never happened.
Yeah.
Ah.
So, all right. Kadir and Dennis. Nita, hi. Oh, this is wonderful. So I see, hi, Mike. I see that Jim is actually trying to log in from the field. I had a conversation
Jim.
with him, and he probably can't even hear me because he's still trying to log in. But I love that here he is. He's working in the field, and yet he shows such support for women in drones and our coffee connection, right? That
Right.
he still takes time to log in, even though he's out there working it, right? So Jim, you
Yeah.
didn't hear a word of what I was saying, no doubt, because you're not logged in, but I do appreciate it. Right? Hi, Roseanne. Greg. Yeah. So this is Greg's first time joining us here on the Coffee Connection. Hi, and super exciting. He's going to be our spotlight speaker. I think it's next week, right?
Oh, right on.
And he's going to be sharing about GIS, right? I
Oh,
love it.
dude, GIS. I live on GIS with half the stuff I do.
Yeah. That's what I was telling him during the conversation. It looks like you and Mike. Do you want to say anything, Greg? Say hello.
No, just thanks for having me. And yes, next week I'll be talking about mapping workflow with drones.
Love it. Right. So you don't want to miss that one. Hi, Jennifer. We got Jennifer on here. So I'm going to just give it a couple minutes, make sure that everybody gets logged in here. And I do have a couple of announcements that I want to share. Hey, Jim, there you are. You got in here. So you missed the whole shout out I just did.
Hey, Desi was just talking about you, Jim. Oh, man. Ugh.
Yeah.
She was roasting you hard, buddy.
Sorry.
Yeah, see, I told you he was out in the field doing his job right there.
Watch the recording.
Yep.
Yes.
Started this morning. I started this morning before sunrise. So.
Yeah. So.
What is that movie? Sunrise, Sunset.
And that's the hour
it's
in right now too. Right. Awesome. So let me just make a couple of really quick announcements. I am going to put a couple things into the chat. Of course, I want to share, and so I will open this up really quick. Like the first one that I want to let everyone know about is that coming up on, actually there's a couple things that I want to remind everybody. There's drone discussions that's coming up on October 20th. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time, and it's just an opportunity to share, talk about what's happening in the drone industry, ask you questions. Last month it was just small, and it was really neat in that there were so many people from different aspects of the industry. So that was kind of neat to have that networking opportunity. And then also, I didn't put a link in there, but I can if you like. While maybe Pharns is doing his presentation, I'll go get a link for you. Hot topic for San Diego Drone Pros are going to be talking on Wednesday, tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on remote ID. right? Great topic, great conversation. Plus, I'm just surrounded by amazing drone pros, Jim Bonnerdale being one of them. So that's a great one you won't want to miss, and I'll get a link in there for that as well. And then, now you would think that I purposely did this, but I know I said in the past that it is time for you to reflect and think about who you might want to nominate for the Women in Drones, Women to Watch Global Awards, right? So we're taking nominations through the 25th. And the topic is Women in Emerging Aviation Technologies Award. It's going to be in Vegas. And there's so many opportunities to nominate somebody that you want in the industry. So there's like 3 topics that we have right now. And then it details even more than that as far as like in education and public safety and such like that. But one of the things that I think is kind of neat is our spotlight speaker is Pharns, Genece. His company is USOG, and he is actually one of the award winners for last year. So it's really, yeah, woohoo, right? So it's really exciting that we actually have Pharns here to share with us today, because he's going to talk about the journey of USOG and how I'm sure he's going to share about how that award has changed the dynamics of the way he looks at things. And he's just always been a strong supporter for women in drones. So we thank you very much for that, Pharns. So with that, I am going to segue over and make you spotlight for everybody.
Thanks, Desi. You're too kind. We're just here trying to do some good work and, just trying to save lives in the best way we know how. And Women in Drones has been a real amazing forum for us to not only just interact with the community, but has expanded our opportunities. Winning the Spotlight Award last year allowed us to be more exposed, and a lot more people have become aware of what we do. And with that came some new challenges like, hey, are you guys capable of doing X, Y, and Z? And of course, me hating to do anything new, and I hate challenges. Of course, I said, yeah, we're going to try this. And because of that, I'm kind of going to bring you along a little bit where we are today. Our core has not changed of helping save lives, but we've expanded. And let me go ahead and share my screen with this little PowerPoint here. And you'll notice that those of you who know USOG and what we're about, originally our logo was in red. Now we're in blue. And we found that we've gone beyond just the medical space. And part of the problem is that, and I'm just going to be blatantly honest with y'all, our little logo in the middle there, it's all in blue. Well, imagine that in red. Now, if you imagine that in red, you see that there's a little cross in the middle. Well, we have a client who happens to have a red cross in their name. And they said, hey, that might pose a problem here in the future. And the reason I understand it is I come from a medical background in the military. And the Red Cross is not just protected by a patent or a trademark, but it's actually protected by the Geneva Convention, which is a whole nother ball game. And those of you who are prior service in the military understand that. But bottom line is the Red Cross is protected. And we said, that's fine. That's great. We want to do what's right. And I want to keep the Red Cross as a client. Okay. And so we went to blue, and that actually helped us out because we found that what I'm going to share with you today kind of encompasses now everything that we're about. Basically what USOG is we have started out as, we wanted to be a drone service provider at first. And we went from being a drone service provider to actually creating cargo systems to transport medical assets specifically. And then we found ourselves that the ecosystem was not ripe and ready for a full end-to-end cargo delivery systems. So now we've gone beyond that, and we are now USOG, we design, manufacture, and sell drone delivery systems. Now, the thing that you need to understand is drone delivery is not just physical assets. Because when you go into business and say, hey, what's the deliverable of this contract? Well, the deliverable of a contract could be a physical asset, or it could be a report, it could be data, it could be whatever that deliverable is. We found that in the drone space, that is the same thing. It's not just delivery of physical items. And Jim definitely knows this because he's out doing inspections and surveys, and the deliverable is that data that the client wants. So when we say drone delivery, Jim Bonardell and those of you do inspections, you are also in the drone delivery business because you're delivering an asset to a client. Now, with that in mind, we've kind of expanded, the way we look at things, and what we do. It's basically logistics and deliverables. It's not only e-commerce, it's not just food, it's not medical, but it's also services to the DoD and clients that, like I just aforementioned, is they need data. And why it matters is that, we want to enable safe, secure, and cost-effective drone delivery by drone, whether it's a physical asset or a digital or data asset. Okay. And that's kind of how we've kind of looked and seen, and we see the world now with some of the challenges and some of the requests that we've received. Obviously, I'm a drone delivery guy. We want to make it cost effective for retailers. And the wonderful thing is that for us, the drone is a truck. All it is a truck to us. And we integrate with any drone there is. We're drone agnostic. The payload, we can carry 1, 2, 3 boxes. We can carry up to 15 envelopes. We have a smart winch and tether system that allows multiple things to happen. And I'm just going to go into that here shortly. And the problem is that we need to get data from the drone to the client, and there's a gap of the cargo to the client. You have a bunch of drone boxes out there in the ecosystem. You have Valkyrie, you have Drone Deck, you have Strix drones. These are these beautiful drone mailboxes, and all of them say, hey, we're going to push the package up the chute, and it's going to attach to the drone. And everybody's got a drone that says, hey, we're going to pick up these packages and we're going to move them. Problem. Nobody has the mechanism that in between to connect the cargo to the actual drone. And that's our space. And that's what we specialize in. And we're currently the only game in town that can do that. Now, not only for a physical asset, that's also for a digital or data asset as well in certain arenas. Most notably, most of you have probably seen this system here. That happens to be a DJI M600 we no longer use, but that's a 20-pound box, 12 units of blood, and then another additional 7 pounds of ice. And we've been moving that box for the American Red Cross. We've used drones that are being type certified. All of everything's registered, automated, secure, scalable systems. And that's what we're all about. And if you happen to notice in this box right here, where our logo was red, there's the Red Cross that I mentioned earlier. And that's one of the reasons for the change. Okay. Ready to fly systems. We have hardware, we have softwares. These are different platforms. We're able to move pizza. We're able to land at night. We even have a system that you can take out into the field on the back of an F-150, land and go. And this is us working with the Red Cross on the top right. And basically, we turn drones into commercial freighters. That's essentially what we do. And we turn them into data gatherers as well. So this year, we just participated in ANTX, which is by invitation only, and it's by the DoD and the alphabet soup of everybody shows up to this event. And hey, that advanced on its own. I guess I got a ghost in my computer. And so what we did is we went out to Port Hueneme at the naval base out there. And this cargo system, which I will introduce to you, is our integrated drone winch or smart tether. This can be winched or this could be a static line. It can be remotely or autonomously controlled. And we've integrated on a 55-pound class drone. The tether is bidirectional communications. So we can carry data via serial or Ethernet along the entire line of that tether. We can put multiple cameras, multiple sensors, and we can record on board to a computer that is air gapped, which means that companion computer collects all the data and is not connected to the internet. Or you can collect all that data and pass it to a C2, a command and control center, where all that data can be received. So depending on the mission and who's using that system could be secured or be streamed. And it can be streamed via a secure line as well. Hence the reason DoD and people like that like this. And during flight, we can actually get the latitude, longitude, position, and other flight information that's related to exactly where this tether system is and the sensor on the end of it. And the system can lift over 100 pounds with 100% tether snap load rating. In other words, that tether will carry 100 pounds, and the only thing that's going to limit that tether is the ability of the drone to carry whatever's on the end of it. Why is this important? Well, this is what we did. We teamed up with a company called Sensor Technology Engineering. And if you look to the right, that's what they call a Radiac sensor. Why is that interesting and important? Because we took our drone and we flew it over cargo containers on a simulated cargo container ship. And that sensor, what that does, it senses radiological debris. So if a ship comes into port and they need to check the ship for any radiological debris, we can fly the drone, drop the tether. It'll sense whether there's radiological information or debris there or not, and send that data directly back to a command and control. So the Department of Homeland Security, DoD, and places like that are interested in something like this. Also, there's been inquiries from nuclear labs that can we set up a drone to just go ahead and monitor on a regular basis to go to this point, take a sensor reading this point every hour. So that's one of the reasons that we did this as well, is that we've had a lot of interest in keeping everybody safe. Instead of sending people into harm's way, we're sending drones into harm's way. Imagine having something like this in Chernobyl, where you just send in a drone, drop the sensor, it takes a reading, and then the drone comes back to a dirty area where people would go change out the batteries and what have you. Something like that is saving lives. So that's why we love robotics. It does the dull, the dirty, and the dangerous. And that's another way we're looking to save lives. And by the way, we can do 100 meters on our tether, which is 300 feet. So it allows us to get really far away from whatever that source is in this specific scenario. The other thing that we've currently integrated into our drone systems, well, we're currently integrating, is that obviously if you have a static position of a drone and a weight at the bottom of it, you're going to get wind and what have you, and you're going to turn it into basically a pendulum, and you're not going to be very accurate on your placement. However, we're integrating with another entity right now, and I think I can't mention them yet. I got to get the NDA back. But what it is that as the payload swings back and forth, we're able to monitor the payload, and the drone is able to adjust so it cancels out that swing. So in any kind of weather, the drone will compensate and it'll stabilize that load on the end. So now when you go to drop your tether line in a location, it'll be very specific. It'll be on target all the time. And if the wind blows it, the drone will move and compensate to cancel out that swing. So by the time we're done with this new system, I'm going to go out on a limb. It'll be one of the most technologically advanced commercial UAVs out there. Not only that, when it does come into an area where it's going to deploy, it will actually have machine learning and AI on top of it to see if there's anybody walking under it or what have you, and it'll not deploy the tether. It will not engage in whatever activity it needs to. So it'll be able to, it's going to be very smart in a sense. So here's kind of overview of our system. You have the drone and winch control, which is basically your Q ground control, your controller, whatever. We have LTE comms, whether it can be secured, unsecured, depending on the client. We have a winch or the smart tether static that we can lower and retrieve. And then we have the active tether, which we could not only use one sensor, but we can have multiple sensors along that line. And that's almost a Giganet Ethernet device cable that we're using. And by the way, it's waterproof. It's submersible, and that's what's really important. Now, why did I mention that? Well, here's why. We had to go to the ANTX, which was put on by the Navy, and of course they like this radiological sensor, but we had to come up with something that the Navy would want. Well, come to find out, and being prior military, I understood this. When you're looking for submarines, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll send out helicopters, they'll drop a line with a sonar into the water to detect a sub. Problem, that's a helicopter worth millions of dollars with crew. And so no longer that the military does that with helicopters, but we kind of devised a way for them to do it with a drone. So because we have tether system, we've now created a 360-degree dipping sonar prototype. Well, on the left, it was a prototype, and to the right, we made it a reality. So you can fly a heavy class drone and dip this sonar into the water, and you get a 360-degree view of that area. Not only this is good just for the military, but it is also good for coastal surveys. Actually, we've had a lot of interest from erosion control entities and things like that along the coastline. And it's just for mapping bays and areas and things like that, being able to have that sonar. Yes, there's instances where an ROV would be better, but sometimes you just need to go to a very specific location to spot something and then set out an ROV to do the lawnmower track back and forth. So this has been real popular at the ANTX that we just recently did. And here's kind of a con-up of how you can possibly use it. You have multiple drones go out, they drop their sonar, you get the data back, and then you do whatever you wish. So for us, we look at the deliverable being not only just a physical cargo, but also data. Yeah, and I forgot to put the slide in, but the really cool part about this is at the end of this tether line, the other thing we can do is we can actually put a robotic arm on the end of it and actually physically pick up items. So it could just open and close like a claw at the end of this tether system. So that's the other thing that we're capable of doing. And we have, I think right now, an array of about a dozen different sensors we can put on the end of this smart winch and smart tether system in order to adapt to multiple, missions. And that's kind of what I wanted to tell you about. That's what we're doing now. So, we're kind of having fun with it.
It sounds like it. Yes, I agree. Awesome. So we do have some questions that have up in there. Before we start to get into some of those, that last clip you had was your team. Can you tell us a little bit about your amazing team? I'm sure you have.
Oh my gosh, I have the most incredible team. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without them. And when I say that, it's not I as in myself, it's I as in USOG, because this is not built on just what I do. I have a lot of you know Jennifer Gwynn. She is on here, I think. Jen, are you on here today? I thought I saw her come in. Jennifer Gwynn, she is our amazing liaison for our medical our medical asset. She's my handler basically. There she is. Hey,
Yep,
Jen.
there she is. Hi,
She's
Jen.
my handler anytime we go to an event. And she is amazing. She's our liaison. She deals with all the pharmaceuticals and medical. And she is literally kind of one of the best. My right hand. She's amazing and she does a great job. And she holds the team together. And a lot of you get our newsletter and emails. I coordinate with her to do all that. And Jen, pipe in. Am I a good boss? Am I terrible? I know I'm a pain in the butt to work for. And you know, I'm not even a boss. I get the privilege to be the face of this amazing team that's been put together.
Awesome. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say he's great. We all collaborate really well together. Yeah, he definitely doesn't feel like a boss, more like a partner or a team member.
Awesome.
And that's the way it should be. I have Mark Costco, an amazing engineer from Boeing, and then we also have Wayne, another great engineer from Boeing. Jeff Simons, who's also an instructor, who was an instructor at Maricosta College. This guy, he is so connected. It's crazy. He's Mr. Business Development 101. He is awesome. I got Gloria, who's a classmate who does all my graphic design work and an amazing pilot. And she doesn't think she's a great pilot, but she is an amazing pilot. Oh my gosh. My sister, who does HR for me, she's been an HR director for Fortune 50 companies all her career. And so now she does HR, and because she started her own company, and I hired her because California, number one, is crazy on HR. Number two, if I ever get in trouble, I'm just going to tell her, hey, I'm telling mom on you. Jeff Cummings, our CFO, Houston, our other pilot who also went to Maricosta College. So, I mean, my team is amazing, and I couldn't, do this without them. And then by extension, also Desi is on the team. Anytime I've got something I need to come in and get spun up on how to actually fly and safety wise, Desi's there. We also have Carolyn, who's always on here anytime we need backup and writing and heavy duty stuff like that, which thank God lately I haven't had to, but it's coming. It's coming in a big way. We have Carolyn, who's always on here, available to us as well. And by extension, all of you here are part of the team because you all have, contributed to the success of USOG. And we really are thankful for that.
Awesome. And it's great to know that you're surrounded by such good people and you can reach out to them and it takes a team, right? Awesome.
It takes a team to wrangle Pharns.
I think Jennifer said that before. So we do have some questions that did pop up into our chat, and so we'll go ahead and address those, and feel free to pop any questions you have in there. And Pharns is just a wealth of knowledge. I do want to circle back to also hear a little bit about the journey of getting started and just your path. I think somebody even asked that in here. So we have a question from Carolyn. Is there a video data size limit through the IDW system? And then what has been your most challenging feature of the using of the IDW to date?
Wow. Okay, so the bandwidth of the transmission devices, that's the biggest pipeline clog. We have the full bandwidth along the tether, but it depends on the transmission system that you're using. We have the capable of using your standard, LTE modem, but then again, we also have other systems that provide more bandwidth that are not commercially available to civilians that we're working with, that provide a lot of bandwidth and throughput through satellite and other means. Our biggest challenge right now through that system, I think it's the conversion of 2-wire to multi-wire Ethernet. There's some things that don't exist that we've kind of had to create. And frankly, like everybody else, it's hard to get specific parts for the things that we need right now. And that's another thing that, hey, we want this and we need that, but can't find it in the United States. We need it from Germany or we need it from elsewhere. And then getting it here and finding out that, okay, now we got to convert X to Y to make Z work. So that's kind of the big thing right now, Carolyn. Yeah. But otherwise, the technology is here, and part of it is us just figuring it out, just like everybody else in this industry. You know, I'm sitting here in my office and I have the first drone I ever built right here, and I'm looking at it and going, how did I go from that to what we're doing today? And it's just making it happen, just doing it, and and tinkering, just like how DJI started. We all started in the same place.
Is that where we say our garage?
Yep.
Right.
Well, actually, it wasn't even in my garage. I started out on a kitchen table
Awesome.
way back in the day. Didn't know I was going to do this, but yeah.
So that's a perfect segue
So-
to the next question that Ingrid had was, how did you come to drones?
How did I come to drones? That is a funny story. And it's okay, short version. Okay. Number one, computer nerd geek all my life. Two, musician, which led me to computers. And then I went into the military and I was a flight nurse in the military with the Air Force. Got out and then went to the civilian side, was doing fun stuff, and went back to school, got my degree in audio engineering, video music production. I went to work for Disney. And during that time I was working at Disney, this little class showed up at Miracosta College, and then this instructor named Desi was in it or something. And while I was working at Disney, I was going to school at Miracosta for the drones. I wanted to get to know more about drones and what have you, because I had my Part 107 before I even started the class. So one day I was on the 5 freeway north going nowhere fast. If anybody knows California freeways, I was in a giant parking lot that goes for hundreds of miles apparently. And literally in front of me was a LabQuest van, and I have the photo somewhere, and I took a picture of a LabQuest van going, 20% of those samples are going to go bad in that van just sitting here. And I'm like, if I had one of my drones, I could take my drone, fly it down the freeway and come back by the time we move a mile. And boom, that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh wow, drone delivery needs to be a thing. And then why I mentioned my Disney experience is because at Disney, working as an audio engineer, we work directly with audio. We work with lighting, moving of stages, mechanical stuff, all had to be synchronized. And we had to integrate all those systems all the time to work seamlessly. And that integration experience from Disney allowed me to take that directly to drones, meaning the flights, flying the drone, the automation, the winches, everything. And so all those systems integrations of those different technologies lend itself to what I'm doing in drones today. And so that's kind of how it came about. Went to my graduation. The night before my graduation, woke up in the middle of the night, wrote down the name of the company, and I'm like, okay, I'm asking 2 people, I need money to start this darn thing. Took a napkin. I'm like, I'm going to lunch with you guys. And next thing you know, Mark and Jeff were at lunch. I go, here's my idea. I'm crazy enough. You going to help me? And luckily they said yes. And that's kind of how it started. So that's how I came to drone. Somewhere, somehow I saw a drone in a magazine and I wanted to build it, and I did, and it took me 6 months, but hey, I made it happen.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And drive and ambition, and yes, you are amazing. So I have a couple more comments and questions in here. Kate said Westlake Landfill in Earth City, Missouri, and the surrounding area needs you. And I bet there's a lot of places that need you. How long is the tether on the dipping sonar?
Okay, so we've tested right now, Ariel, we've gone to 100 meters, which is 300 feet. The dipping sonar right now, we've tested at 50. The difference with there's going to be a difference between the dipping sonar and our next iteration. The next iteration is basically a flying wing. As you drag it along, depending on the speed that you drag it, it will rather descend or ascend. So right now we've tested at 50 with the current system. The next gen we're anticipating much longer and bigger drones. and I anticipate that will not be commercially available because of the FAA limitations, whereas DoD does not have limits to their current systems. So I anticipate that being capable of doing much more. And Carolyn, I know and I see what you're thinking, and I like the way you think. You're right here with me.
All right. So
um,
Casey also
let's
asked
see.
about does it work with mapping the wetlands?
The 360s, yeah, it's a lidar. It's or sonar actually. You dip it, and the sonar data that you get back is the sonar data you get back, and it just depends on the quality of sonar you have inside of it. We have the one that's currently in there. We didn't go for an expensive one because we have no need for a super expensive one. But there are additional sonar that are that compact and small with extremely great resolution. So you can get real detailed mapping with it.
Awesome. Awesome. So Jim Bonadale says, mind blowing considering the delivering data. Hope I don't need a 137.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that yet. That's gonna be interesting how they classify what we're doing. That's gonna be interesting. How did you hire people you didn't know beforehand? Oh, okay. Yeah, Ingrid, I see your question. How did I hire people I didn't know beforehand? Word of mouth, resumes, and here's the biggest trick of the whole thing is you hire for the attitude, you hire for the work ethic, and I can teach everything else because this is a team effort, and our team is collaborative and we're very close. And to screw up that dynamic with one bad apple can throw the whole team off, and it can throw all the synergy off and the progress we're making. So we hire for attitude, we hire for the willingness to learn, adaptability, and we can always teach everything that we need. We can teach everything that we need. However, if they come with those talents, that's great. If they don't have it, well, guess what? If you're willing to learn, we're willing to teach, and you'll be part of the team. Seriously. And you got to just have a go get 'em attitude, because half the stuff that I know when it comes to drones was never taught in a book. There was no schooling when I started, really. Even when I went to school, half the stuff that I've learned since then, they didn't know. I have an opportunity now to go back and teach what I know, so it's going to be easier for the next gen. And so I think that's what you hire for.
That's so true of the evolution of just the industry and how we've seen it evolve and the material that's available and teaching from experience for so long. And so what an inspirational thing, but about just hiring based on the integrity side of things and then building into that skill set. So that's very inspirational.
Well, if you think about it, look at the military. We hire individuals to run nuclear submarines, work on jet engines that have had no prior experience, kids straight out of high school. But as long as they make it through basic training, and then they have the intestinal fortitude and the mental awareness to make it through that, then we teach them a lifelong skill. And that's kind of the thing with basic training. You weed out those people who don't have the ability to learn, listen, and what have you. And once they go through that, then you teach them the skill. And it's kind of the same thing, we take in the raw talent, find the people, the willingness to learn and do what, that talent that have the potential, and then we teach them. It's the same thing.
Awesome. So Casey also had another one in here, and she was saying that she is in Lawrence, Kansas, and for the Regional Tribal Operations Committee, they have a quarterly meeting, and she was thinking they need to map the wetlands. Can you put your contact information in there? Because bottom line here, we're
Absolutely.
all about networking, right?
Absolutely. We put all my contact in.
There you go. And then what is the best drone to utilize for that?
The best drone. Wow. That depends on the mission parameters. That's going to depend on a lot of things. And so, and even the weather and the region you're in, all that is going to be dependent on the drone you choose. Jim, who's currently out in the field, will tell you, he's got a plethora of drones, but that one drone is not going to do the job for everybody. In fact, you might have to end up having a custom built system depending on what your needs are. You know, we use some commercial off the shelf drones, but we found over time that I'm literally in the middle of a build right now because there's no commercial off the shelf drone that has everything I need it to do. So I'm literally building a system right now, which will probably, like I mentioned earlier, may be the most technologically advanced commercial drone out there with everything I'm putting on it. And it is what it is because it doesn't exist. So I had to create it. There's no other drone platform I know of right now that's going to take into account having a tether or a weight on the end of it that's going to turn it into a pendulum to automatically counterbalance that. There's no other system currently that I know that's doing that in the commercial space. So I literally had to go out and find the people and do the integrations for what I needed.
So can you elaborate a little bit on your goals and how you hope to make this more scalable?
Stall it. Let somebody else do it.
Okay. Jim's liking that one.
So in all honesty, here's where I'm going. I started out wanting to be the drone service provider, and I found, number one, I really didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have 1,000 drones all over the place with, $500,000 worth of insurance liability on all of them. Not for me. Let Drone Up, let all those other entities do that. That's fine. I'm here to create the systems, the end-to-end systems that they need. My business model is I want to be the Levi Strauss. I want everybody to go mining for gold, but I'll provide you the tools to go mine it. Simple as that. And so once we have the systems in place and we've identified the 3 basic systems that we need, and those 3 basic systems will come at a fixed cost, fixed investment, and fixed operational cost for the end user. Now, the end user, we can train them to use it, or we create the system and hand it off to a DSP, and the DSP will operate it for the end user. So, and with that in mind, we can scale. Now, once that we are able to scale that, then it's pretty simple. These are the basic packages. You have a special niche that you need servicing on. Okay, great. Here's the basic package. In order to identify your specific niche and whatever new content or whatever you need, it's going to be X amount for us to tweak that. So we're really looking at this in a very succinct manner, and not only just those things, but also we're in the process of creating new software that doesn't even exist in the industry yet, and there's a gap that people don't even realize that we have found that we are now creating, because you have a bunch of entities going, yes, we're going to tell the DSP we want our package to go from here to there. Great. But the problem is industry A is talking in Swahili, drone businesses speaking in French, and there's no translator in between. The drone service providers have their software for the drones to do everything and what they need to do. That's great. But the rest of the industry, each industry has their own language, but they don't connect. There's no translator. And because we're the intermediary physically, we found that we need to become the intermediary software wise as well. So
Yeah, you see those
that's,
last couple comments in there. Yes. Right.
Bonjour, comment ça va? Marie, tout est bien?
Bien, merci. Vous?
Ah, bien, merci. C'est toi longtemps depuis nous parle. Okay, I'm not going to go too deep, guys. All right. Been a while since I've seen Marie.
Yeah. So Ingrid would like to know how you found your niche.
How I found my niche. I think it comes from my medical background. And I started specifically medical. And as we had to develop cargo systems for the medical space, we found that the technology we created lended itself to other areas. And it was trial and error. You know, we started out going one direction as the service provider. Then we found our niche in the medical space. And then because of the technology we developed in that space, allow us to be the intermediary. Our space is below the drone and above the delivery point, period. that is our sweet spot. And there's nobody else playing in there right now. And we're the glue that connects the drone to the delivery of the data and physical asset.
Awesome. So, and you see that quite often where you get into a field, any vertical, and as those doors open, you start to refine your direction and your path. And so it's great that you found yours, right? And so found your place.
Right.
So
And
Ingrid says,
the interesting thing, is, Desi, it's just like with any field. You go to school to become a nurse. You got all the book learning. You're awesome. You're the straight A student. You get to the floor. You don't know anything. You go to the emergency room going, I'm going to be the best ER nurse in the world. And you find out 15 minutes, that ain't for you. For me, I'm going to be a great nurse. I'm going to go to the NICU. Forget it. I will never do neonatal intensive care unit. That is too much for me. But I will most certainly jump out of a helicopter, airplane. I will be in the middle of an ER in front of a code. I will crack a chest and do a cardiac massage, but do not put me in a neonatal ICU. That is not for me. Carolyn knows what I'm talking about. So it's just like with anything. You get all the book learning, but once you get into it and the experience, that's when you really learn who and what you want to be. I just noticed somebody asked me about Zipline. Zipline, I love what they do. They're great. It is amazing. I'm just not going to drop stuff off in a parachute in the middle of America. Simple, you know. And I'm glad they're doing what they're doing because they've been able to pave the way in regulations and showing the world and all the FAAs and CAAs and all these regulatory bodies that it can be done. So I'm very thankful for them. They're not a competitor. They are a collaborator and a co-operator because we're all in this together to create this industry. We're all in it together. I spoke at CUAV and with a bunch of other drone delivery entities, but none of us were competitors. There was a DSP, there was a UTM provider. I mean, I was a drone delivery cargo system. Then there was a DSP who did that. So, Jim, thanks for taking my picture. If anybody can see Jim. And so, yeah, this is a cooperative effort. And I'm so happy that Zipline's doing what they're doing because, you know, they've allowed some of the regs to open up the world to us.
so when you first started getting into this and kind of finding that path in your direction in career path, you actually came with a vision. And I remember you just were very strong about that passion and desire that you had when you started saving lives. I remember that was huge.
And I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
Still doing it, just in a different way.
yes, you are. And
Well,
paving
it's
paths.
still with drones in different manners.
Yes, exactly. And once you start getting into it and start moving in a direction, it opens up those doors and you see, well, where's that perfect fit for me? Yeah. And so Ingrid also mentioned something about trust the youngsters. And that is actually a really good segue to, I know you do a lot with STEM. And so can you share a little bit about what you're doing with STEM or maybe some of the projects that you've worked on and outreach opportunities that you've been involved with?
Yeah. We've worked with a couple of nonprofits. One of them was Support the Enlisted, which is a military affiliated, and the enlisted families that have one of the parents deployed. We go spend time with the kids, and what we do is we kind of do a full day workshop what we do is we'll come in with these basic electronic kits and we show them basic electronics. And then what we do is we do a drone demo with them. And our drone demo is so much fun. So what we've done is we show the kids the drones and all that. And then we take one of our heavy lift drones and we put it up in the air and then there's a box on the ground. Well, what we did with our drone was, since we do cargo systems, our cargo was a golf ball hopper. Okay. And so the kids tell the pilot, whoever's piloting that day, move forward, back, left, right, and then they say hold. And the big Staples easy button, we rigged it so every time you hit the Staples easy button, it drops a golf ball. And so the kids are trying to get the golf ball into the box that we set out from about 50 feet in the air. And so we do that with them to show them that, hey, you can interact with the drone even if you're not the pilot. And hey, you can target something, just different things. And the kids find that to be a blast. We bring the drone down and then we have these small little DIY, almost like a Lego, not quite a Lego, but almost like a Lego drone kit. And then we help have the kids put that together. And then we kind of teach them the basics of flying. Parents hate us and love us at the same. Kids flying a brand new little drone in the house. And they're harmless little toy drones. And so that's kind of the workshop we do with kids. So we've done that with the STEM. We also do that. We did that with the Boys and Girls Club, a couple of different organizations. And then I'm in the process of getting my own nonprofit set up to go do more stuff like that with youth and STEM education. But my nonprofit, I want to extend to doing rescue, search, not just rescue, but being able to provide relief after hurricanes or natural disasters by drone. So I want to have the ability to go, okay, there's a disaster that happened somewhere. We've got a truck with a fleet of drones that you can't go in and out of this area because roads are flooded out or what have you. All right, we've got a heavy lift that'll take in 20 pounds of medicine, food, supplies, and whatever. And that's where I'm headed, and that's what I want to do. And hopefully, raise up a little army of, young teenagers and young men and women that are capable of doing that across the country. Climate change is real in my view. And not only we've seen Puerto Rico recently and other, natural disasters recently from Florida. Well, why is it always the East Coast? I'm okay with that, but why is it always the East Coast? And you guys are evil on the East Coast, I think. That's what's going on. And so I want to, train up a bunch of young men and women to be capable of having trucks across the country that go, hey, we can't truck in anything, but we can move supplies, radios, and what have you by drone. And so that's another dream of mine, which extends my saving lives.
Yes, it does. Wow. Awesome. That such a value in that, so yes, can't wait to see that happening in the future, right?
Yeah, like I did before, I've already got the name for it. I've got kind of the plan. I've got Jennifer roped in with me, helping me get that up and running. Renee Jones Welsh, Dr. Grantology, kind of picking her brain on trying to get funding. So this arena, Women in Drones, has been a great resource for things like that.
Yes, when you're talking about Renee, we just had her on the program as well. And so, yes, this is an amazing network. And it's so good that this is where you can come and meet up with other people and make that network. And I'm seeing that more in the industry as well, where you're just now, where it's not so close knit. It's, we can work together as a team. And so I'm seeing that more.
Right. Matter of fact, I also see a spot for Jim being on that, team where, okay, he needs to go survey an area where we can drop off stuff. Fox Fury Lighting, they've been amazing at putting the lighting on the UAVs and some of the stuff they provide us. And for setting up a night op, Desi, with their light busters and stuff. And back to your point of the collaboration, for the first time at CUAV this year, I was speaking to one vendor concerning our relationship on how we could work together. That vendor took me to somebody else and says, hey, if you want to utilize what we're doing, you're going to need Pharns in his company. And for the first time, I'm really starting to see people understanding that it's going to take all of us to make this work. Literally is. And so, like you mentioned, it was the most beautiful thing this year at CUAV that I was able to see people actually talk to each other and go, hey, you know what? I can help you, but in order to make this work, we're going to need so-and-so and so-and-so. So I think finally, I think we're at a turning point where it's going to be more of a collaborative effort than we've ever seen before.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I love the collaboration. So Casey, she said she'd love to be a part of that. So when you get that delivery into emergency response going, hey, count on her, right? Awesome.
I'm more than welcome to, I put my information in the chat. Maybe I should start a newsletter on how that's going separately, just to
Yeah.
kind of start connecting people and starting to see how I can build that out. Anybody else here done a nonprofit before?
Yep, they are definitely liking the
Oh, Join for Girls. Got it. Newsletter, Ingrid. Not. Oh, Ingrid, I guess we're gonna have to talk.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we are getting up at the top of the hour, and so if anybody has any last
Thanks, Casey.
questions or anything like that,
Mike.
hey, Mike said his wife has set up a few nonprofits. All right. There's Bounce's information again. Sheila says, thank you. So we are coming up at the top of the hour. Bounce put his information in there. So how kind of you to let people reach out to you. That is what we're all about, right? Networking. And so we thank you. And it was just really inspiring because knowing your journey, your path of getting started and how the doors and opportunities have opened up. Team Blue Cross.
Blue Cross on.
I like it.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
And by the way, I made sure that I put the drone in the middle of mine, so Blue Cross and Blue Shield doesn't say anything. They have no claim.
I know.
And who's our IP attorney here?
Eric.
Eric, yeah.
He's not here today. He's probably
see Eric
Ireland or something.
Right. Yeah. And working on Tuscany, that's coming along.
Oh, well, count us in, right? Oh my gosh, 2023 is going to be an amazing year. I'm so excited. So much happening. So I just want to say thank you again. Thank you for sharing. Thank you everybody for attending and coming here and sharing as well and networking.
Thank you all.
Go ahead and Sheila put in her information, but that's what we're about. So networking. So put your information in there. We'll give it a last little minute so you can drop that in there. And then of course you can save the chat, right? A little difficult to do with the phone, but if you're on your computer, it's the three dots in the lower left-hand corner. And definitely join us next week because we have Greg Lang. He's going to be talking GIS. We have Paladin coming up. We have Drone Deploy coming up. Hopefully Jim Bonadale, we're working out stuff. Genece is going to talk about Burnout Coach. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. I'm super excited. So we will see you next week. And
thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
And feel free to reach out.
Okay.
I'm a little busy, but it might take me a little bit to get back. Take care, y'all.
All right. Bye, everybody. That kind of wraps it up.